is people show up to the booth and they say, do you have AI? And I'm like, as if it's like a merchandise. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, we're out of stock. Come tomorrow, we'll have more AI. No clue. Just like hype driven. I mean, it's full like hype driven. Somehow they heard this word and they're repeating it across the board, and they have no idea. Like there's no problem to solve. There's nothing. Marrying that microphone. This is a bit better visually.
There you go. Welcome, everybody, to the Contact Exec. Welcome, Albert. Return guest Albert Bou Fadel from SmartBarrel is here with us today. And you and I did our time at Groundbreak. You've done a lot more and in conferences in the past few weeks. You're kind of a traveling fool, I guess, getting around all these different places. And I just wanted to, hey, talk to you about it and kind of see what was your take on it and, get the inside. I got to talk with a few folks. You probably talked to a ton more as far as industry folks, not necessarily from the tech side, but actually from the construction side. So I kind of want to see what you were hearing the most about during those conversations.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much, Robert,
man.
for having me. We have great conversation online and offline. It's always fun. Well, I think the best way to start is that we've been going to Groundbreak for a couple of years now, back to back, and it's quite an interesting show for me because it's like a technology sponsored show, but it's slowly becoming an industry show. Meaning usually there's two types of really big shows. They're either like fully just industry focused. So think of your associations like your NICA, your ABC there. And they really are labeled around the industry. The whole title is either like segment of the industry or the industry overall. And when the attendees are usually going there with a very specific agenda. One is, what is the state of the industry? Two, what's new in the industry? And by state is like mainly health players. Who should I be going after? How can I build relationships? And the second part is that what is the latest and greatest in the space, right? So a lot of people send their executive team, their big players, to be like, hey, go shop around, see what's happening. The technology software is more kind of an elaborate user group, right? So it's like we've grown enough. We have so many users. It's not feasible to put them all on a webinar. So maybe we can do this conference where we can offload how much updates we've done, what we're looking towards, and have them sync up. And I think Procore is starting to become, in the last few years, more of a hybrid. So there's a lot of like groundbreakers, they call them, or Procore believers, whatever you're going to call them. But also there's a lot of people who are flying there to get the ladder, to network, to build the status of the industry. So it's becoming not only a Procore, even though it's Procore label conference, it's becoming a bit more of a Procore kind of industry approach. So outside the keynotes, people are walking around. Where did this observation come from? It comes from the questions we get. So it used to be before, how do you integrate with Procore? How do you use this module in Procore? How do you Procore? And now slowly more and more is like, how do you guys tackle the problem? How are you different than this other problem? How are you solving for this problem? And asking us, what do you guys see people do in the market? So it's like, even though obviously Procore is the host of this ballroom we're in, the conversation are not necessarily only Procore specific. So like we integrate with Procore is kind of like a given, but it's like not even the topic of conversation. It's more so like, can you tell me more about you guys or the industry or what is latest and greatest and yada? And this is like very, very, very interesting observation from my end.
Yeah, I think it's I had some similar conversations as well with some folks where folks are looking kind of outside of, obviously, Procore, biggest player kind of, I would say, in the game, along with the Trimbles and the Autodesks of the world. They've got, obviously it's great package software. It may not be for everybody. It may not be for your mid-market folks. It may not be for your subcontractor type folks. It just depends on where you're at and kind of where you're needing help. But it is a great place, which I think is funny that you should mention. It's kind of that hybrid. It's a place where functionality meets industry, right? And you're looking at technology and industry kind of coming together in one kind of common place where they know what they're going to find is one, people with the same damn problems they've got. Everybody's got issues walking around. I think you and I had a nice laugh about the whole thing. There's 10,000 people walking around here all trying to figure out where to start, right? And so you're getting those questions of, hey, what do you guys do? And what do you guys do in this situation? Rather than how do you integrate with Procore, it's more of how do you tackle this problem? Because I may not have a Procore problem. I may have another problem. Do you integrate with these pieces and those pieces? Because I feel like we're getting at a point in the industry where we're talking less and less about the technology in its own little bubble, but we're talking about, does it talk to one another? Can it interact with maybe something, even if it's legacy? Is legacy stepping up, right? Are they redeveloping? What are they doing? What have you heard? How long is that going to take? That kind of thing. So I was finding those interesting conversations. And you're right. There are a ton of people from different segments of technology then interacting with those folks who are in construction.
Yeah. What I would say is, I don't know if Procore would sponsor what I'm about to say, but what I would genuinely say is that even if you are not fully integrated with Procore or fully dependent on Procore system and whatnot, it is an event worth exhibiting in. And this is kind of like a weird statement to make, because this is how much of a broad audience this is capturing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how much of non-Procore specific solutions people are looking for. People are just trying to understand where the industry stands. And I think there's two smaller observations that I've noticed also this year. One is this whole AI really shaped the industry, right? This whole kind of ChatGPT, it was kind of like a big awakening moment. And it's a full spectrum. It goes from, okay, obviously technology is becoming very, very powerful. We are about to miss the train. So let's see how much we can reevaluate our tech stack, our technology. How can we empower, yada, yada. This is the very educated, systematic kind of approach. We have an ERP. Should we update it? Should we not update it? You see, there's a lot of kind of mature thoughts around it. So yeah, I know I have an antiquated or old ERP system, but there's a cost to upgrading. Should I upgrade? Should I not? Should I add plugins that are a lot
Is
of
it
mature?
too soon? Yeah. Is it too
Yeah.
soon?
Are we ready? Are we not
Yeah.
ready?
Yeah.
And on the other spectrum, is people show up to the booth and they say, do you have AI? And I'm like, as if it's like a merchandise. And I'm like, no, we're out of stock. Come tomorrow. We'll have more AI. No clue. Just hype driven. You know what I mean? Just full hype driven. Somehow they heard this word and they're repeating it across the board. And they have no idea, there's no problem to solve. There's nothing. So you have the full spectrum. You have amazing conversation we never used to have before. They used to be more either FOMO driven. So the best, you always have the early adopters. I think Procore for the most part used to be only targeting the early adopters. The latest, the biggest, the greatest, yada, yada. And we used to meet a lot of those. The CIOs, the really smart people who are coming, who maybe haven't necessarily fully polished the proposition, but they want the sexy thing, right? We'll buy, we have the money, we'll experiment. Doesn't work, doesn't matter.
Yeah, they're looking for that. Yeah, they're looking for that advancement level where they're sitting there going, okay, we're going to bring this in. We've got the funds, the availability to research and
the resources.
Yeah, the resources. Yeah, right. Yeah,
exactly.
I get it.
Then now we're seeing the shift of the second step where, okay, the early adopters are not the only ones. Now you have a lot of people who are like, listen, we have a business, we have stable, we're not the biggest whale in the room, but yes, we can play with a couple 100,000 and experiment if this basically optimizes operations. So a lot of those very smart but non-hype conversation. There's no FOMO, there's no rush. It's very systematic approach.
Well, and I'll call them a cautious innovator, and it's simply because they know they need the technology, but they want to pick they're cautious and they're informed because they want to pick the right one, which is different from some of the early adopter formats, where early adopters were going, oh yeah, let's go try that out, and then they found all the bugs and tried to kind of beta test their way through some sort of integration. And then now we're at this level of we've got a large percentage of the bell curve, so let's say, that is in there going, okay, I see what's really working, what's really not. Let's get a little bit more detailed, make a more educated purchase of something that, hey, because we've got more educated buyers in the space that say they know a bit more about this. We've gotten past that first phase. So I agree with you. We're definitely in that stage of the educated buyer asking intelligent questions about what do you do.
Yeah, that's why now, like, I think we're on an inflection point, and I think a lot of like the mature, well-established, well-thought-through contact software that really they can really take off in the next few months to a year. And I think it's a cross kind of like an intersection of many points. One is we were on an early adopted bell shaper that was like really flattened. Like for years, it's been only the very smart, tech-friendly, big contractors who would buy the Procore, who would buy the open space, who would buy the cool camera with the 360. Those were the people. It was more like, it felt almost like a branding, marketing exercise more than a functional tool. It was like Procore, open space, drawings, PlanGrid, they're very powerful tools, but they were always somehow to the industry categorized in the tech fancy brand category versus like your DeWalt Milwaukee drills. They were never in tools. They never made it to the same toolbox. It was always like, we use open space. Nobody would say we use a drill bit, right? Like from Milwaukee, from Hilti, or from whatever. It was different. It's like those are the tools that we use to build the buildings. Those are the cool stuff we have. It was
unless you're a nerd like me, which like you're not going to see a DeWalt tool in my hand.
But the six of you industry-wise not gonna build this whole.
I know.
Not gonna build our market. Yeah,
I know. That's the tragic part, right? Yeah, I want to be right, but I know I'm not. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So now you're seeing a lot of people kind of like leveling up the field, where they understand that the same effort they're taking into choosing, I don't know, the infrared scanner, the LiDAR system, or the they're using to scan the room, or the leveling system that they're using, and the software, they're all almost at the same level. They're all necessary tools to make the job more efficient. And this kind of leveling is changing the whole game.
Yeah, it's that decision when you're stepping up to buy, Hilti tools, right? Hilti makes a great tool. They really do. And there is a step up there that you have to make from other providers. I get it. And you're right. Software is moving into that level where there are players in the game that is like, hey, look, you're going to step into this level, be educated buyer. I think that this AI, the name, the buzzword AI, and, you get those kind of, do you have AI? Whatever. I really feel like at this point, it's like this badge that you put outside on the box, right? It's this badge that you put on and say, okay, yeah, we've got it. It'll large language model your document or whatever it'll do. It'll help you research better. Maybe it's got some analytics in it and helping you do analytics and things like that. I get it. But I still think that in these mid-markets, there are folks that we really got to talk more, and we're starting to have more intelligent conversations with about just digital, data-driven technology from the get-go. Don't worry about AI. Don't worry about the analytics part. Let's talk about a couple of things. Let's talk about your data. How are you gathering it? How is it getting into your system, right? B, what are you doing with it in your system once you have it there? And then what do you want out of it? Because I think that's the biggest question. A lot of folks don't know, really, what am I trying to find out about my data? A lot of them are very financially focused, where they're just like, hey, all I know is I'm bleeding red over here. Well, okay, you're bleeding red. What are you bleeding red from? Well, I don't know. We're losing money somehow. I think it's from this job and that job. Well, those are pretty broad topics. Like there's something inside of those jobs that maybe you're not figuring out or analyzing 100%. That says, hey, we're missing the mark on this. Maybe you shouldn't have taken that job because you're not very good at this part, right? Or you tagged on this little extra. Well, we can do that, or a GC hires the wrong sub, or has a couple of subs that are underperforming and overcharging or something like that. How are you analyzing that? How are you seeing that performance level? How's your schedule performance doing? Are you late on your jobs? Are you ahead of schedule? What are you doing how's your schedule performance? So I think, again, we're starting to see that, but we're also starting to see people, they're trying to say, let me see what the AI does for me. And I think that's too big of a step, right?
It's not too big of a step. So it's not necessarily the leap that is the problem. The problem is that you're leaping in the wrong place, because the starting point of like, if you want to procure solution, if you want to procure tech, there's a very, very narrow and specific reason why to, right? Usually, I mean, we're going to go into like product adoption and all the pillars of it. But like, long story short, if there's a friend of mine who's a plumbing contractor and he's like, what do you think I should buy? I'm like, this is the wrong question. The question is, what questions do you need answered that you don't have answers to now? Or maybe you're having the answer a bit too late. Once you define the problem, I wish I could understand why this job lost money. Okay, let's take it a step further. Why you think you have lost money? Well, I don't know. Overall, we were doing great, and suddenly we're not doing great. You were not doing great on which level? Well, it seems the labor we spent too much. How much more? Well, I don't have much more than this.
Yeah.
And this report came to me 3 months after the job was done.
Yeah. Well,
So
they're dealing with noise. Okay. So especially at a certain level, they're dealing with noise around a topic. I just had this conversation literally about when you're needing to have those tough discussions, because what you're talking about is a very, very rough, it's a tough discussion to have amongst your leadership team or your supervision team or your project management team to go, guys, we really need to get really clear very quickly about what it is that's creating this problem. Are you a liability? Are you an asset? Is it, where does that fall? And it's really that simple. You need to, because, and that what you end up finding out is everybody wants the attaboy. It always sounds great up until the point when it's not great anymore. When 3 months later, as you were saying, the returns start to come in and you start to realize, wait a minute, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what you said, and then the finger pointing starts, right?
Yeah. No, yeah, and the other problem is, as like, it starts in corporate America, but it's in every organization. Nobody gets penalized for not making a move, right? But you get heavily penalized for making the wrong move. So you almost have no incentives to move, because if you want to be a bit kind of the youngish, not in age, in spirit, in mind, of saying, you know what, we've been doing this for 15 years, let's shake it up a bit. Well, if it plays out, of course, you're a hero. But if it doesn't play out, you're destroyed. You're the fool who brought that stupid tool, and you walk the field, and for 10 years, everyone's laughing. It's like, hey, remember the stupid thing you made us wear on the hard hat? Like, you will forever be like crucified for this, right? But if you're neither here or there, and you decide to do nothing, you float. And I think this is the biggest problem, is that people should start building kind of, I think people should crucify less the fuck ups, but also crucify the lack of movement. You know what I mean?
I get you. Well, again, that's what I think. I think one of the things that I try to do if I'm consulting, one of the things that I always promote, I always say this: look, guys, we've had a great conversation, which is what we needed in the first place. All right, let's not finger point. Let's not worry about where we're at. Okay, because we're here. Nothing's going to change that. Okay. But at least now we're having the conversation to really start to narrow down, because again, there is zero productivity in one, somebody floating, right? There is zero productivity in two, never having the conversation. And there is zero productivity in pointing fingers, right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. So again, professionally, we really need to, again, to your point, any company having struggles, it makes no sense to ignore it or point fingers or do any of those kind of things. And again, this is just another level of complexity kind of just added on to the whole topic of, technology and construction, right? We always go, well, there's this issue, there's a procurement issue, there's there's a management issue over here, there's this issue over here, and then stack on top of that the egos and the attitudes and the outliers and all those kind of things. There is this crazy dynamic of people out there in a wide range of professional activities.
Yeah, think of the ego, right? Like what's your average or typical construction owner story, right? 8 to 35 years ago, this guy was in the field. He ranked up. Most of them started the field. Rarely they come from college, right? They started the field, carpenter, maybe family business, maybe first time. They drove trucks, they drove forklifts, figured it out, became a super, general super, understood numbers, smart enough, understood how to be a PM, changed orders. So they know the field, they know now numbers, they know contracts, they can argue, they know the inner mechanics of the thing. Something happened. They said, you know what? Maybe a recession, maybe got fired, maybe fed up, maybe a girl, maybe God knows what. And they said, you know what? I'm rolling the dice. I'm opening something. And the first contract is a couple 100,000. They're barely making it. They can't make payroll. 2-3 years later, they're at a couple millions. Now, fast forward 20 years, they're making 40, 50, 100, couple 100 million revenue in the data center. And it's in the billions, right? They go crazy. And they're cashing up a couple million a year. They're living the best version of their life. And you gonna sit in front of them, someone like me, young, in tech, and say you're doing something wrong. Like, this pill is not gonna fly. They'll be like, listen, pack your shit, get out. You know what I've been through and you know where I'm at now. Who are you to tell me that I'm doing things wrong? So this is the starting point of their ego. They against all odds, and they didn't make 180,000 last year. They've made couple millions on like a very, very medium-sized business, right? Like a drywall contract. But this is the establishment that they have. This is how much grit they have in them, ego, self-esteem, da. So criticizing anything is like they need to themselves have identified the issue, cared, and had the energy to go delegate it to someone and give it priority, blah, blah, when their mind is still in this kind of like more work, more business, grow.
Yeah.
So those are the personas that you're mostly dealing with. Like, the starting point is the ego is bigger than the room. And you can't say people are stealing from you. You can't say your operation is not efficient. You can't say, he's like, who are you? Do you know where I was 20 years ago? Look where I'm at now. You're telling me I'm doing something wrong? I think you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So I get it.
You're absolutely right. And there's are some characters out there that are just like that. And then there's others that aren't. And we're, again, I think what we don't want technology to do is to come in and say that we know better.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
What we don't want, we want to be, we play lightly in those areas where we say, well, I'm not saying that what you did in the last 20 years was worthless. Obviously it's not, right? What I'm saying is, and this is, I think, some of the conversations that may be going on now at places like Groundbreak and maybe on a high scale, but what they're saying is like, technology, that train is moving, and AI along with it, whatever you want to call it, large language models, analyzing your data better, whatever you want to call it, however you want to describe it, but it's coming. And guess what? If you're not on the train and you're not efficient in it, somebody else will be.
The industry has to, and I don't know how this can be achieved. It will take a minute. It's a bit accelerated now, but from the contractor's lens, they should treat the Sunbelt forklift rental agreement, the Milwaukee, DeWalt, Hilti, Hitachi tool purchase, and the technology software on the same level field.
Yeah.
They're equally essential. I was a subcontractor. If you sit on a tools meeting or equipment meeting, you have 7-8 people asking you question. What's the torque on this? What's the level on this? How much is it? Like, there's so much in depth because they know that this makes or breaks my business. They've already owned it. They know that this is not I can put a screw in a screwdriver. Yeah, of course. You can move. Like, they already bought the thing. They already understand school. Software is still not in this category. Software is still kind of like a burden. Do we really need it? Like, there is nobody questioning if they need like a battery powered drill. This is not even, it's done. Like, you know that you're not running cords on a job site, you're not doing this. Nobody's questioning if they need to rent a boom lift or have 4 guys lift a pallet. Like, those are done. But software is still not, they didn't slip into the tools section. It's still an overhead section.
Yeah.
And as long as it's an overhead, it's still in a weird way perceived as a burden.
Yeah. No,
As a luxury. Do we really need it? I'm like, of course you need it. Like,
let's say, I think there's 2 different sides to that equation, though. So you've got the field side over here, which will definitely look at software like it's a burden because, again, they're still functioning in a level of, I've got these 5, 6 different items on my list. Not only my crew, I've got the job in front of me, I got the set of prints in front of me, I've got this in front of me, and I've got a schedule in front of me that I've got to keep. Those are the 6 things I've got to do just now. And then you also want me to document all this on some said, whatever, or take this
1992.
Yeah, and they haven't, and they got the iPad, but they're still trying to reconcile, like, am I wasting my time here? I'm searching, I'm not finding maybe, or, those kind of things. But then I've got this guy over here who possibly just cut his finger off. I got to go find out what happened. I got a fire burning over here. I've got another truck pulled up with materials, those kind of things. So in the field, definitely they're like, is this a burden or is this helping me? They're still trying to work. There's some that have really adopted, early adopters, I would say, that the product champions, yes, they're all in. It makes their life a little easier. There's some not yet there. There's some new guys coming up that are probably like, yeah, I want that because hopefully it's going to help me, accelerate my path. Then on the office side, all right, then you've got this office side of the world where they need the analytics, they need the data, and so they're probably a little bit more tech savvy. They're like, I need this. This is the tool to help me get my job done, right? But I may not necessarily be getting exactly the data that I need from the field because is it consistent, inconsistent? It's still a human effort in order to get maybe some of that data from the field back over to the office. There's still that interaction. There's still a bit of friction maybe in there. So yeah, there's a lot of challenges to this, but I like your kind of point of view where they still see it as overhead and a burden rather than an actual essential tool to basically growing as a company together and growing in their position as well, right?
And that's why for us it's very important to always focus and win the field, because financially speaking, the field is the money producer, right?
Yeah.
Everything, like you can optimize the back office by 10x. The business will still be almost in the same place. You can enhance few percent in the field in performance and optimization, and that's a couple million in the bank. It's a very reverse pyramid. The office is supporting the field. So that's why you need to figure out a way how the field can start mentally observing those tools as legit leaps in their performance, in their life quality, in their understanding, in their communication, whatnot. And only then tech is going to be like so plugged into the industry, equal to having, I don't know, instead of using a hose with water for leveling, you have now a tripod with a laser beam that just draws a line and then you go mark your points. So this is the same thing. They have to see it. Nobody looks at this laser and be like, oh, that's gimmicky. I have a hose and I put wire and I can level the land. Like within 2 seconds, you're like, yeah, that's not going to make sense. Tech is still not there. But I think you're absolutely right. The tech adoption in the office has been observed, but unfortunately they have the least amount of impact on the business and the least amount of impact from a revenue perspective and impact from a enforcement perspective, because they're not the 380 workers in the field. They're not dealing with exactly the delivery, scheduling the bike host, getting radioed by the GC to run upstairs for a quick meeting, and at the same time have to follow 17 steps to give a data that is at bare minimum suggested data. So until tech really owns this bucket, like where a worker, a foreman, a super, a general walks in and they're like, oh shit, I don't have my iPad, I can't work today. We're gonna struggle. We're really gonna struggle as an industry, even if the CFO, the HR admin, the timekeeper, the CEO adore the tech, and they're refreshing the page 8 times a day, and they have
Yeah.
a huge Power BI. This means nothing. This really won't even make or break the business. What will make or break it is when the foreman walks in and he's like, shit, let me run back to my truck because without my iPad, I can't function today.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think a part of that, let's say I get questions all the time from, the field folks when they say, when is it going to be just easy for me so I don't have to do some of this functionality where it just measured it. Somebody brought up the point. He went to a Houston Astros game a while back, bought his ticket, online via his phone, had his phone, had his ticket ready to go. Thought he was going to have to scan. Gets up to the kiosk, didn't have to scan anything. They had already scanned him. They filmed him coming in from the, in the line. They saw his face, it basically matched up with what he had on the ticket on the phone. Yep, come on in. Did the quick security scan to make sure he was good. Didn't have to scan anything. He was already done. Their questions to me when they're going to events like that, they're seeing it happen at NFL games, NBA games, I'm sure they're probably doing something similar at the World Series now, right? But they're seeing this kind of technology happen that they then correlate something back to their job site. Like, why can't we do that? And I think it comes down to this. It comes down to IoT devices, things that are going to get better and better at recognizing, job site characteristics, job site, individual, really narrowing. And you've seen it now. They use them in safety stuff where they, the drone flies over, it sees certain things. I was watching this thing. Vendor did a demonstration of it for me at a conference I was at beginning of the year, where they were flying over the oil rig. And the guy was flying around the refinery with the drone, and he was noticing safety areas, and it would highlight, it would bring up a whole list. Again, IoT device becoming effective.
Yeah. We get this all the time, right? We get this all the time. Camera on the forehead, detect my task. Why am I coding time? Yada, yada. At some point, we will get there. I don't know when. It's not in the near future. And I'll explain why. The same building that is housing all this technology, the NFL stadium, the Super Bowl, whatever you want.
It's one spot.
When it was under construction, they couldn't have this information, right? We are the reason this technology can exist. The problem is you need a physical building. You need miles of network cable. You need lighting. You need. When you are in construction, the variables are so immense. Mm-hmm. Where are you gonna hang it? You think for a second. People start getting very excited. The construction is we're doing drywall. You start with the construction site. It's an empty parking lot with fence. Where are you gonna hang the camera? What is it measuring? Then you dig, and then now you move all the office trailers, and now you're pouring foundation. Now there's walls. Okay, now one camera won't suffice. Now I need 20 cameras. But now the masonry built a wall. Okay, now I need to move the camera here. And then now there's more. Oh, but I don't have no power. And how am I going to run the power? Because the guy where I run my network cable or my power or my battery, or even if I have it mounted with 3M double scotch tape, someone's going to go take it out, throw it on the floor, be like, listen, dickhead, I want to run my pipe from here. It's such a dynamic workplace, and it's so alive that it has no physical point.
It kind of has a mind of its own, doesn't it? The job site.
It's alive. And the biggest problem is that once you're done with it and you move to the next one, it's a brand new all over. Yeah. There is nothing. We can't identify this corner we can use for cameras because it's the last thing we touch. Well, we don't know because this building is an L-shaped building, and the actually lobby is a 32 feet span hallway, and then there's curtain wall, but actually the glass didn't show up, so they'd start to plywood it with plywood, so I cannot see what's in the building, and now I have no camera, everything. And then by the time you make these changes, then it's not even worth the measuring so you add all this infrastructure. You need literally an army of people and sensors to run around with batteries and IT to measure tasks that you're trying to optimize, that you're not negative. You're absolutely not negative. So
I get it. Yeah. No,
that's the challenge of this industry, really. That's the biggest challenge.
Yeah. Everybody wants to kind of reduce their workload
input
somehow, and reduce their input, so make it automated. But I think to your point, there are certain things that can be, should be automated, much like a manufacturing would be automated kind of thing. But ultimately, construction is construction. To your point, every site becomes different. Weather conditions are always different. Personnel, different locality, different. And they're so unique in each structure. Even though we're maybe doing some of the same tasks, we're always pouring concrete, we're always hanging studs, we're always throwing up steel. We're doing all those things, but each one has its unique characteristics and its unique characters. Like I always say, you got to kind of keep the animals in their cages, right? If you don't have a good schedule and you got the trades tripping over one another, you got problems, You really do. You got problems. You got, your materials aren't coming in on time. You got problems. Last thing you're worried about is moving that IoT device to, check your progress, or running the little robot dog around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that yellow dog is fantastic. And I have people inside buildings that are struggling to make value of it. Yet a moving target. Look, this is our entire DNA philosophy, is that we really take a lot of time on deciding when and where we should automate and when we should not, even though it seems we could. This has been, so I'll give you, so that's why we have our hardware. Timesheet entry point face that automated. Every worker walking in, walking out should be as seamless as possible, capture this data. What they worked on, I cannot automate. Another perfect example, I was doing a presentation in Atlanta literally 2 weeks ago, and a huge audience, big group, and I'm walking through some of the features, and we have a substantial weather tracker. We track weather on all job sites. And poof, 1/1 I get this question. One big guy raises his hand. I'm like, what's up? He's like, can you make sure that we send a text message to all our workers if there's thunder? And I'm like, you can, but you have to trigger it. And he's like, can we automate it? And I'm like, here we go. Do you want the system to 100% of the time send an SMS to all your 300 workers every time there's a thunder on job site? He said, yes. I said, okay, pause for a second. Is there a use case where you should not? He's like, yes, if they're working indoors. I'm like, okay, what else? He's like, oh, if we're doing patching without a truck, if we're not using crane, da, da, da. I'm like, okay, so imagine if I had automated it, and now you're calling me saying I have 82 workers sheltering because your stupid software shot a text message.
Yeah.
And this is the problem of this industry. While it seems at face value, yes, this is great automation, there's so many edge cases.
That's right. And so this is what happens. Again, I run into the same thing where you start talking to people who are actually in the field. And most of the time what happens, what comes to the front is their most recent edge case. They wish they had that automated, but their most recent edge case is at the front of their mind. And they're sitting there going, okay, well, what about this? What about this? It's almost like they're trying to get you on that gotcha question. And you need to remind them, this is an 80% tool. This is not the 100% tool is going to solve all your problems, and your social life and everything is going to get so much better based upon having this software in your world. No, what this is going to do is it's going to help you get better incrementally based upon what it covers. It's not, you can evaluate a software on what it doesn't cover. You have to evaluate a software on what it does cover. And if that software doesn't measure up to this next software, if one does a little bit more than the other, maybe then that's better for you. But man, this whole thing about evaluating stuff on what it can't do, that's a terrible way to go. And you'll never find anything, right?
Yeah.
You're going to find problems with everything. You might as well figure out what software is going to give you 70 to 80% better performance, right, than what you currently have, or even 60%, because starting at zero, especially if you've got nothing, right, or your processes are totally broken, you're sitting there spinning your wheels going, being a pessimist going, well, that's not going to work because it doesn't do this, this, and this. No, you're not doing any of that right now, but yet you're complaining that this doesn't do that. Let's be clear. Let's get something to get you started. And so it kind of gets back to our whole point at the beginning. 10,000 people converging onto a conference floor, all with the same problems, still trying to figure out where to start, or they're in the middle of it going, now where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Right?
No, and what we're trying to do, when we're sitting with them, we said, listen, maybe we're not a perfect software, but we aspire to cover 100% of your cases. I really aspire to cover all your edge cases this year. I'll give you a process, but it won't be automation. This is where there's a big difference, right? So I'll give you a process to handle this case and handle this case. We want to cover it, especially in our world where it's payroll. I can't be like, you can pay 98% of your people, two people, just wing it. No, we have to cover everything, right? We have to cover every in, every out, every expense, every object, everything.
Yeah.
But you're asking for automation that doesn't need to exist. It's not a technology. Like sometimes people blame or attack technology. It's not necessarily a technology problem. It's just a process problem. Why do you want to automate the punch out? Like, I don't understand. In what world that makes sense? The guy forgot to punch out. You're just going to guess he left at 8? No, it should go through a work process. It should go through a conversation. Call the guy.
Yeah.
Robert, why didn't you check out? Like, you need to know this.
Because you're training, again, if you do that for somebody, you're training bad behavior.
100%.
Right.
And this is on the obvious side of things. There's like a million others that may seem not obvious, that you very easy to put 2 lines of code and have it automate, that we need to have the experience and maturity to say, hey, hold on.
Yeah.
It seems to Robert that this is helping him because we're adding automation. But like 6 months down, we're either promoting bad behavior or we're collecting crap data because the system is assuming. Who's the system to assume? How can SmartBarrel in any word or shape assume what we should do on your site?
It's no different than the payroll administrator who gets that file and sees that there was no clock in, clock out, just assuming, well, I guess he had 8 hours. There you go. Boop.
Yeah.
Here, let me hand you a check for that day. And I don't know for sure. You still have to confirm it. So yes. And I agree with you in that this still needs to be human interaction with technology, not technology interaction with humans. Right. It's different. We have to approach it in the fact of, let's look at our processes first. Right. Once we then gather our processes and understand how that's working, then let's move forward with how does it solve certain issues, not all of our issues, doesn't automate everything, but we got to get the humans involved in good practice. Right.
You almost want to call it smart automation or useful automation. It's not the sake of automating. Like this whole like obsession with automate, it's equivalent to like someone walking to me and saying, I want to automate everything is the equivalent of me, someone walking and saying, do you sell AI? Show me AI, give me AI, as if AI is like a, like lunchbox.
Yeah.
So it's smart, useful automation. Where is it benefiting? Because automation for the sake of automation can cause more harm than it seems. At face value, you're saving 3 seconds here and 8 minutes here, but you're losing quality of the data. You're losing insightful information. You're losing to fraud. You're losing to loss. So thoughtful, useful, and really smart automation is what you should be aspiring for. So like every time you're even pitch automation, stop. Say like, do I need it?
Mm-hmm.
Like do it outside the 3 minutes that I'm saving, but like how much am I losing from an insight or an information or a training behavior or having Robert really get the output of like what the fuck is going on my Friday afternoon.
That's right. That's why I never let my kids not mow the lawn. Is one of those things. It's like, well, I don't need to have the automated lawnmower or robotic lawnmower. I don't need to hire somebody outside. I've got you.
Yeah. Listen. This is exactly the use case. The technology exists financially. It makes sense. Yeah. Technology exists financially. I don't know, but I'm assuming it's not something you cannot afford. Also you think at face value, you're saving yourself 15 minutes a week or 30 minutes or an hour a week. But at the end of it is you have 3 kids, probably in fears in their 20s that have no idea what lawnmower is. And then if they don't buy an automated one, they're stuck. And they have to learn at 32 how to mow lawn. Like, exactly.
I know. That's a tragic. It's a first world problem, but it's a tragic analogy.
It's not,
to exactly what's going on.
But this analogy you can project it at any level of the equation, right?
So there was a long time ago, one of the early posts in LinkedIn somewhere. A young technology student was advising everybody how great the age of robotics and automated services and all these things were going to renovate the world of construction and all these different things. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. I get it. You're an idealist. And quite honestly, there's a lot of people out there, guys like me, who I don't need all that stuff. Like I don't need somebody to tell me how. I don't need somebody to build something for me if I want to go build something. And I mean, and maybe it's not safe for me to get up on a ladder, but if I want to get up on a ladder, I'm going to go do it. Those kind of things. I don't need all that. There are certain things we just don't need, and certain people just don't want it, right? So yeah, the automation of everything, we might as well just be automating ourselves right out of a job, right? Because
It's
ultimately,
beyond the job. I think it's one step deeper than jobs out of purpose, right? If you
yeah,
if you automate raising your kids and automate paying your bills and automate your job and automate, then at some point, like, you wake up, like, to do what? Again, automate. We're not gonna be here like bashing automation. Automation is insanely powerful for humanity, right? Like, I don't want to build a house where someone is like mixing concrete with like a wooden stick, and then, like, I need mechanics, I need systems, I need automation. Like, I will fire this contractor faster than anything if I see him so proud about how he like saws every wood panel by hand, right? Like, no, like, buy machines, buy equipment, buy tools. I want to see a rivet model. I want to see the building built before you lay one brick.
correct,
But just be wise in where you're automating.
correct.
Not
It's
Don't turn
this.
it into like an obsession or like a
Right.
goal of
It's
life.
the swing of the pendulum. A lot of times the pendulum swings one way
100%.
and then its pendulum swings back the other way. We got to be careful about, how far we're swinging with the pendulum, right?
The
Let's
100%.
not go overboard, but let's be rational about what we're really talking about here. I think to your point, I thought that was a good one about the thunder, right? Every time
Yeah.
there's thunder, do you want everybody to, go take shelter and, look around for lightning or whatever? Like in my day, it was if it started raining, you drew a circle, right? And if 12 drops, dropped in your circle, y'all got to go home. Well, we would just draw a really big circle.
Exactly. And then you're indoor.
Yeah,
It'd be like working.
then you're indoors. And so, yeah, no, I totally get it. Absolutely get it. Well, listen, man, 45 minutes goes by fast, but I really enjoy it every time we do it. And I'm sure we're going to do it some more. Thank you for spending your time with me today, and great conversation. I hope everybody else enjoys it as well. I hope you have safe travels. I know you got some more stuff coming up, right?
Yeah, we're going to see the CMIC Connect conference, and then we're seeing right after going to the Trimble Dimensions conference.
Yeah, that's a
One in
good one.
California, one in Vegas. Yeah, so interesting, different perspective, different crowd. But yeah, always time flies. Thank you so much, Robert, for having me. Always great conversations, and yeah,
Yeah.
always looking forward to the next.
Well, we'll stay in touch. And for those of you out in the Contact Exec world, please be sure to check out SmartBarrel. It is a fantastic product, that is for sure. It's got a lot of great technology. And obviously, you want to connect with Albert. You can find him on LinkedIn, and most you can find SmartBarrel on LinkedIn as well. I'd say go check it out. But until next time, everybody have a great week and be safe out there.